Good afternoon, and a warm welcome from our side to the roundtable hosted by Pro Helvetia, the Swiss Arts Council. It's very lovely to see all of you, although you're very much in the dark for me now. Our hope is that we'll get you out of your, let's call it, post-lunch afternoon slump with an exciting and hopefully a re-energizing conversation about what is both at the core of our funding activities at Pro Helvetia and, of course, at the core of the annual theme of the symposium, the idea of symbiosis. My name is Katharina Brandl. I'm head of visual arts at Pro Helvetia, and next to me, the woman in orange and red, is Leonie Thalmann. She's a specialist in art, science, and technology, and she's spearheading our activities in this realm. Leonie will briefly highlight or will shine a spotlight on a few of the initiatives that Pro Helvetia has developed in order to enable tailor-made funding measures for artists and organizations within the field of art, science, and technology in just a few seconds. But let me preface with one thought. For Pro Helvetia as a national foundation in the arts in Switzerland, we try to correspond with our funding activities not only to the needs of contemporary artists, but of course we also want to spark engagement with topics of high relevance to our society as a whole. And symbiosis, much more than a mere biological descriptor, is for us a metaphor of productively working together. It receives maybe its relevance exactly in a moment when society seems to be moving towards the contrary, to the antagonistic. And it allows us thinking of this change, may it be artistic or scientific or both, that goes way beyond a model of the world, a model of living together as a zero-sum game. We hope that the roundtable will give you some insights in how we try to engender and also foster artistic creation and collaboration as such, and how we and also our collaborators learned from the funded initiatives. Leonie will briefly share what is on our agenda at the moment in the realm of art, science, and technology.
Thank you very much, Katharina, for this insightful contextualization. So, under the focus of art, science, and technology, we are aiming on the one hand side to connect artists with actors from the fields of art, science, and technology for mutual collaboration and also to foster knowledge at this intersection. And on the other hand, also we are aiming to enable transdisciplinary production and as well as the dissemination of such transdisciplinary projects. So therefore we have launched several measures. For example, selected partnerships with other organizations or special calls at the intersection of art, science and technology, like for example Synergies. This is a call that is currently open. It is dedicated to foster international collaborations on an organizational level, and many more as well. So today we would like to give you an insight into two special partnership programs with other organizations that we are running. On the one hand side, the residency program Connect in partnership with Arts at CERN, and on the other hand side, with the Adolf Merkel Institute Nano Arts. Unfortunately, Pedro Wirtz and Christoph Weder, they are not here today due to floods in Italy as well as due to an injury, but I will be here to answer potential questions about nano arts. So during the next 60 minutes, our panelists will share their own practices of symbiotic collaborations, and this will be moderated by Giulia Bini, who will guide us through this roundtable today. So Giulia Bini, PhD, heads the newly established Artist in Residency program Enter the Hyper Scientific at EPFL, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne. And previously, Giulia was the curator and production manager at the exhibition center EPFL Pavillon, where she curated, among other exhibitions, The Nature of Robotics. as a former member of the curatorial team at the ZKM in Karlsruhe, Julia is an expert in cultural innovation as well as in transdisciplinarity, and she is a popular member in several juries and also on expert committees for her inherent knowledge in art and science. So we are very pleased that Julia will guide us through this exciting conversation today, and please, Julia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Leonie, for this introduction, and good afternoon and welcome to our roundtable discussion where artists and scientists meet on artistic research and scientific creativity. To start, an introduction on our speakers today. So, Monica Bello, curator and head of arts at CERN. Monica Bello is an art historian and curator with a deep understanding of the intersection of art and science. Since 2015, she's curator and head of the Arts at CERN program at the European Laboratory for Particle Physics in Geneva. In this position, she holds a crucial role in fostering partnerships and promoting artistic endeavors within the scientific community. Under her leadership, Arts at CERN has fostered collaborations with international organizations, expanding CERN's cultural network, while designing the arts program residencies, exhibitions, and commissions, and transforming them into valuable platforms for engagement with scientific research. In 2023, Monica is curating the opening exhibition of CERN Science Getaway and Dark Matters at Science Gallery in Melbourne. In 2022, she curated the Icelandic pavilion at the 59th Venice Biennial with the artist Sigurður Gjónsson. And Chloé de la Rue, also with us, a visual artist. Chloé is an artist living and working in Geneva. She produces sculptures under the TAFA acronym, standing for Toward a Fully Automated Appearance, a combination of several installations which the artist calls environments. Through the complex relationships of digital technologies with the living, she observes the alteration of reality, disrupting our systems of representation and identification. In 2021, Chloé won the Pax Art Award, and in 2022 she was a resident at the Cité Internationale des Arts in Paris. Her work has been exhibited in several international institutions, and Chloé was, together with Patricia Dominguez, the winner of the Symmetria Residency Award at CERN that we will discuss today in our conversation. So, a very short introduction on Arts at CERN. So, is the leading, as we know, art and science program fostering the dialogue between artists and physicists. And within the Arts at CERN program, the Symmetria program with Prolvezia allowed artists to carry out their artistic inquiry in relation to astronomy and particle physics at some of the world's most important scientific research centers. Two artists, one from Switzerland and one from Chile, were invited to carry out the 3 weeks residency between Switzerland and Chile. So to start, Monica, I'd like to ask you a very basic question. So what is Arts at CERN? What is the vision behind this program? And in this framework also this Symmetria plan?
Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone for being here. And thank you for the collaboration that we have been nurturing and in a very generous fashion, because everything we do is kind of an experiment, right? And so since 2014, Arts at CERN and Prolvezia had business together, and we had a partnership that took different shape through the years. In 2018, we explored, scout ideas, Leonie and Ariane and the team of Prolvezia and Arts at CERN to think what we could do. It was viable, but also what was emerging, and what were the pressing questions in art, science, and technology. There was this, as you said, this new agenda and strategy to push this into the dossier of Prolvezia. We were already strategical partners in this field. So So we realized by exploring ideas that we had a very valid platform to keep researching. At Arts at CERN, as you might know, CERN is a laboratory for particle physics, and physicists, over 10,000 people, dedicate their everything, technology, efforts, protocols, scientific diplomacy, management, etc., to understand the constituents of matter, the fundamental ingredients of our universe. So we bring artists within this environment, and talking to Proelbecher and understanding the network that Proelbecher had around the world, we realized that together we could invite people to go to other places with a similar object, a scientific object. And this was done in a really nice way. I love the idea that we had time to explore and research this new platform that we were creating. And we did it over 2 years. The Symmetry program was a study for us, was a way to understand if we were ready to take this challenge. And over these 2 years, we invite 2 artists per year to spend time at CERN in the Laboratory for Particle Physics for around 3-4 weeks, around a month or more or less. And then these same artists went together to Chile. In Chile, we had an ongoing collaboration with the Corporación Chilena de Video, and they were our partners to bring together artists and scientists within a unique environment that exists only there in the Atacama Desert, where the astronomical observatories are located. So with these 2 ingredients, these 2 strands within the same program, Symmetria, 2 artists were ready to explore the vast spectrum of cosmos sciences, from the macro to the micro, but and we know that we love these 2 poles of the same question. But there was also a very important objective or goal for us, that we brought the artists in 2 different environments. Imagine that, as I said before, CERN is a place in Central Europe next to the Lake of Geneva. You can see the Alps, you have the Jura next to you, the Jura Mountains. Used to be countryside, 10,000 people gathered. They ask many questions, but the diversification of technology is huge, fast, and tells so much of the 20th century, especially the post-war era, when scientific development took another shape, laboratories became something different from before, etc. And after being there, in connection with the same idea, they went to the most isolated place on Earth, the driest desert, the most magical place that I have ever been, with extreme conditions. You have to go only for a few hours to the plateau where the observatories are, that are 5,000 meters of altitude. This is in Alma, in Paranal. In the observatory of Paranal, there are different conditions, but it's still very extreme. And what is very interesting in Chile is that the observatories host only a few technicians, astronomers, and people getting data. The people getting data, analyzing the data elsewhere. So, of course, there was something that we left for the unexpected. And this is maybe the core of our program. Everything we do is because we want to bring this richness up to the surface, and this is the unexpected questions around art and science. We focus on the support to the artists. The scientists are fully involved. Scientific environments, as I described, are highly technological, as you can see in the images. there are two artists dealing with two different proposals. So it's very, very, very multi-layered. It's like Mil Fiore, Mil Lojas project. But the unexpected is what we want to curate. And we do it with the agenda, with Proelbecha. But there is a deep understanding that curating is something we need to provide in an environment that is alien to many of us. So it's not, for me, I've been running the program since 2015, 8 years, a bit more than that. And we learn a lot how to run a program in such a specialized and specific scenario. But what we understand is that every single artist has a different optic. And there is not a single way of symbiosis or collaboration. Sometimes there is parasitism, why not? But we research, explore, and test possibilities. And so I'm very glad to be here with Chloe. Also, there is a downside to it that during the pandemic, Chloe didn't manage to go to Chile. So this is still pending. There will be the moment of Chilean discovery. And the person you saw next to Chloe is Patricia Dominguez. She is an artist from Chile with a really interesting approach. Maybe later we can explore the ideas and how you combine these two knowledges together with Patricia. But perhaps to summarize, or maybe to tell you what is next, to summarize, the idea is that it's very important for a place like CERN with a cultural policy, with a recognized leadership in art and science, within a laboratory, so things are happening in the laboratory, scientists of many backgrounds, senior scientists, postdocs, middle career scientists, IT experts, particle physicists, mechanical engineering, engineers, civil engineers, staff, technicians, so very diverse spectrum of expertise is there supporting us. But we do it because I'm fully convinced, and those who know my trajectory would understand that I'm fully convinced that science has an important role and art has a fundamental role in our society, but we need to build these bridges, and they cannot stay in a central place in Central Europe. For us, it's very important to understand our work as a network. Science do that, art as well. So we need to bring resources, to give money and space and time for these people to go elsewhere. And it's not new. It happened before. The resources were here, but it's very important to find, for us, we have the responsibility to articulate this in our present time when there are so many urgent issues regarding the planet with other species, etc. So maybe what is next, or what is happening now, is that Symmetria gave a place to connect, which is a program that now we are running. It's not a study anymore. We are running with Chile and CERN in South Africa. So last year, the two artists, Ian Purnell and Karim Hassim, went to the astronomical observatories in South Africa in different locations. And at the moment, Rohini Dabasher and Elisa Estorelli are coming back from the ICTS in India, Institute of Fundamental Science, that is next to Bangalore, and they will start a residency with us. With this knowledge, we will support art productions. We believe, and since I am at CERN, we create possibilities for art production. So there is an art commission program, and Chloe will be in our opening exhibitions this year with us in Science Gateway. So there will be this connection with the public and with those that we have adapted to them. We owe them this experience of art. And I think I'm going to leave it here. Probably I spoke a lot, and but
thanks a lot, Monica. No, that's amazing. You gave us really the overview of this program and also the variety of the endeavor, basically, in art science CERN is conducting under your leadership and under also these mutual programs with PERBETS and other international institutions. Now it will be very interesting, Chloe, to hear actually from your side what basically this experience at CERN and this Symmetry residency brought into your practice and into your work.
Merci Julia. Alors moi je vais parler en français. Donc, merci beaucoup pour toutes ces présentations. Alors juste pour préciser, les images que vous voyez justement, ce sont les images que j'ai faites pendant la résidence. C'est vraiment des images assez basiques au téléphone, mais j'avais envie justement d'avoir un peu ce paysage que j'avais un peu dans la tête, qui était en fait très architectural. Donc le CERN, ça a été une résidence bien évidemment complètement incroyable, mais pas forcément pour l'environnement, disons structurel ou architectural justement, car c'est très comment dirais-je, un peu brut comme ça, avec beaucoup de machines, tout ça, mais c'est plutôt en fait la possibilité de, pendant 3 semaines, pratiquement tous les jours, de rencontrer des physiciens, des théoriciens, des ingénieurs, des gens qui travaillaient dans les différents laboratoires, et de pouvoir vraiment circuler dans tout le CERN et de découvrir en fait, d'essayer de comprendre surtout un peu ce que faisait chacun et chacune au CERN. Alors moi, j'ai pas du tout de bagage scientifique, et je suis plus, enfin, c'est les questions scientifiques de manière générale m'intéressent, mais comme vraiment en tant qu'observatrice, disons. Et ça a été un peu un chamboulement en fait d'être au CERN et c'est comme si d'un coup en fait votre perception de la réalité devenait autre chose, et d'ailleurs c'est drôle parce que pendant tout le temps de la résidence j'ai fait des rêves très très étranges de vertige, de grandeur, et je pense que mon inconscient a beaucoup plus travaillé, ce qui m'a, je pense que donc pour moi cette résidence c'était important d'avoir cette place d'observateur, mais finalement d'observateur des observateurs, parce qu'ils observent effectivement des phénomènes par des expériences, etc. Je pense que j'ai compris vraiment un quart de ce qu'on faisait vraiment au CERN. En plus, c'est tout en anglais, donc c'est vrai que le soir, j'essayais de retraduire en français un peu tout ce que j'avais acquis, eu comme information. Et je pense que par rapport à mon travail aussi, je crois que ce qui a été le plus fondamental, c'est peut-être les questions, peut-être plus, ce qui est étonnant pour le CERN, mais plus métaphysiques aussi, ou philosophiques, sur des questions de subjectivité ou de spéculation aussi, ou de position de physiciens qui est plus je me souviens d'un physicien qui était un hardcore positiviste, déterministe, et d'autres étaient plus justement dans des possibilités métaphysiques et de choses plus de cosmogonie, ça me parlait aussi un peu plus. Bref, en fait tout ça est devenu pour moi une espèce de matière première, un peu d'une espèce de forme de storytelling comme ça que je récupérais, et qui pour le coup, dans mon travail, je ne suis pas forcément à utiliser telle ou telle chose très précise pour en faire une œuvre, c'est plutôt des choses qui vont infuser et influencer d'une manière ou d'une autre, ou en tout cas se greffer avec d'autres choses. Donc ça a été plutôt, faire vraiment cette résidence, ça a été très très vertigineux en fait, de se dire que peut-être on ne saura jamais vraiment cette origine du monde, cette question de la matière, etc. Et ce qui est assez beau, je pense qu'il y a aussi ce rapport entre les artistes et les scientifiques, où il y a des méthodologies, je pense, qui sont assez proches. Et dans cette espèce j'allais dire de croyance, mais en tout cas voilà, de ces intelligences collectives aussi dans ce CERN qui est vraiment, enfin c'est quand même assez grand. Enfin, il y a une vraie passion, une vraie incarnation à vouloir saisir telle ou telle chose par petits morceaux dans des laboratoires différents. Et c'est ça, pour ça, c'est assez phénoménal. Ouais.
In relation to this aspect.
En lien avec tous ces aspects un petit peu plus métaphysiques et théoriques de votre parcours au CERN et de tout ce que cela a apporté à votre recherche, j'aurais souhaité vous poser quelques questions sur ces concepts de technologie et de science avec l'acronyme de TAFA. Vers une apparence semi-automatique. Si vous pourriez nous en dire un petit peu plus.
Vous allez voir après, il va y avoir des images du travail, c'est un peu plus loin. Je pensais pas mal, comme ça vous avez une vision. Effectivement, en fait, ça fait depuis quelques années maintenant que j'ai mis en place un système de travail qui est un système c'est entre conceptuel et formaliste, et c'est un système de représentation, de perception, et que j'ai nommé TAFA, donc qui est Toward a Fully Automated Appearance, donc vers une apparence entièrement automatisée. Pour la petite anecdote, c'est un acronyme que j'ai repris, que je me suis approprié, qui provient d'un titre d'un article d'un mathématicien qui s'appelle Fisher Black, qui dans les années 70 a écrit cet article, c'est Toward a Fully Automated Stock Exchange, et qui en fait annonçait l'arrivée dans une prédiction que les échanges boursiers allaient être remplacés au fur et à mesure par la machine, disons, pour faire un peu rapidement. Et donc, en fait, toutes ces questions d'automatisation, c'est quelque chose qui est important, en fait, qui est un peu la base de TAFA, mais c'est l'automatisation dans cette forme d'automatisation intégrale, et plus spécifiquement, je m'intéresse à la notion de simulation, mais d'une manière assez large, dans l'époque que l'on occupe, qui est cette époque du numérique, donc des technologies du numérique, et des générativités techniques, que ce soit par rapport, je sais pas, les réseaux sociaux, les jeux vidéo, enfin tout type de forme de générativité. Et cette notion de simulation, en fait, ce qui m'intéresse, c'est de voir comment ça vient transformer justement nos perceptions, nos affects, nos corps, le tangible. Et en fait, j'observe ça et j'essaie de voir un peu les troubles ou les altérations qui sont produites par rapport à ça, et qui deviennent un peu des symptômes comme ça. Et je vais, à partir de ça, produire des œuvres qui ne sont pas, c'est pas une illustration, c'est plutôt des formes très très allégoriques de la façon dont, en fait, c'est juste le rapport au monde qu'on a aujourd'hui par rapport à ce monde ultra connecté, technologique, etc. Donc il y a quand même ces questions de greffe et de greffe, disons, conceptuelle, et de greffe physique. J'ai un travail donc très physique pour le coup, principalement donc de la sculpture et des installations, où j'utilise aussi des matériaux, enfin il y a des matériaux assez récurrents comme le latex, le néon, et pas mal de structures en aluminium, bref. Et en fait, le latex a été un matériau très important au début aussi, où j'ai commencé à mettre en place ce travail sous TAFA, qui a été vraiment le moment où j'ai pu commencer à mouler en fait différents types d'objets, et donc à venir prendre un peu la contreforme des objets, donc du réel physique qui nous entoure, et au fur et à mesure de créer tout un espèce de vocabulaire de forme à partir de tous ces moulages en latex, que vous ne voyez pas du tout encore, mais qu'est-ce que je peux dire d'autre ?
Indeed, we didn't have the background images related to the work, but basically you're now working towards this also work and installation that will be presented at the end of the year in this science getaway. So indeed, if we happen to see these images, I mean, your work has this very strong environmental and material presence. Perhaps now let's see also if let's say, on this material point, here we are. No. All right.
J'ai mis trop d'images. Désolée.
Let's shift now to the other focus of our roundtable today. So arts at CERN on one side, and Symmetria, and the NanoArts program, which is also a new, let's say, model launched by Helvetia. And in this case, we have a sort of transition to a very different form of collaboration, where basically an artist and the scientist hand in a joint project proposal for this NanoArts residency. And for this NanoArts code, basically tandems consisting of Swiss artists and international scientists from the Adolf Merkel Institute submitted proposals exploring interfaces between art and nanoscience, and then a jury of experts selected 3 proposals basically in order to allow the development of this dialogue for this, basically the realization of this final project proposal. So Leonie, the question is why did Helvetia decide actually to focus on this program on nanoscience and to work with nanoscientists?
So the question to this answer actually has several layers. So I will start maybe with the overarching layer. The launch, so kind of like this NanoArts belongs to the focus, is a measure that belongs to the focus of art, science and technology. And the launch of this focus program basically is an answer to a need that we observed, that in Switzerland there is a lack of formats which promote transdisciplinary exchange, also research, transdisciplinary research and transdisciplinary production. The Art, Science and Technology Focus Program is really an answer to this. So, and we observed exactly like what you described, Monica and Chloe, within your presentation, that it is very important also to have such formats. And then with the launch of this focus program, so we had several measures to provide actually this opportunity, who foster the creativity between art and science, and also this mutual exchange. And NanoArts is a special measure within our portfolio of art, science and technology, because what is special about this, it is that an artist and a scientist work very closely together over a long period of 9 months. And really, so the contact on eye level is in the focus. And also this starts already with the proposal, as you described, Julia. It is a joint proposal, so they have to hand in a proposal together. And the jury is deciding based on this joint proposal who will win. And then so once you belong to the selected tandem, you meet regularly over this 9-month period on both occasions, so in the artistic studio as well as in the scientific lab. And also you really work closely together on common interests, on questions. And the idea of this program is also, of course, that they both influence each other positively, which was the case, for example, with the scientist Christoph Weder and the artist Pedro Wirs, which we actually wanted to have here. So Christoph really tells that the close exchange with Pedro led him to also perceive his practice, his scientific practice, in another view, and vice versa. Also Pedro, he was also very influenced in how he is perceiving materials due to working so closely with a nanoscientist, and he also made a production afterwards of this exchange, which is very much also influenced by this exchange of the tandem. And on the other hand side, also a special thing about NanoArts is that on the organizational side, so Pro Helvetia and the Adolf Merkle Institute, we also have a joint collaboration together. So the whole conceptualization of this program, as well as the implementation and also the finance, so the financing of the program really happened equally on an equal level. So both of us, we invested the same resources into this program, which also made it important to have both questions from both communities on the table, from the scientific side as well as from the artistic and the cultural side, especially if there are many similarities, but there are also a lot of things that are very different. And with the Adolf Merkle Institute, so to close the question, with them, when they approached us, actually they approached us if we would build up a program with them. So this was a good condition also because the scientific community of the Adolf Merkle Institute really stood behind this program as well. And also the concept of that we are conceptualizing this together and that afterward we have these artists and scientists who could work very on a long-term base together. This was really interesting for us. Yes, so this actually, Julia, leads me also to a question that I have for you. I mean, you are running your own art and science program at the EPFL, Enter the Hyperscientific, which is a new program established in 2021 and at one of the most established universities in Switzerland, and it became fastly known. And so if it comes to this exchange between art and science, often it is more tangible to speak about the impact of the science towards the arts than the other way around. So I'm interested in knowing from you, what is your experience with this, within this discourse, and also how is your program built up?
This entered the Hyperscientific, and thank you, Ronnie, for linking to this. It's this new program that we launched at the EPFL, so Swiss Federal Institute for Technology. It's aligned also to a broader initiative, let's say, in the direction of art, science, and society that we have at the EPFL, also with EPFL pavilions. But basically, behind the program, there's the initiative of also the College of Humanities of inviting artists to indeed interact with the broader scientific community, the scientific community at EPFL. So EPFL in this sense has 350 laboratories, being a university in this sense as, let's say, the broad spectrum of, let's say, scientific research. So in this sense, for the project also presented in our program, we invite artists to really dive into the scientific variety, let's say, of the science and technology field. So from any kind of discipline in science, but also, of course, then scientific imaging, or also, I mean, we have a collaboration with Climate, which is a also an institution between UNIL and EPFL, so the University of Lausanne and EPFL, working on climate research. And indeed, we launched the pilot edition in 2021, and let's say we are now, we just presented at the beginning of this year these productions, and what we could see through these different works, at least in two cases, we could really see this very tangible impact of this scientific, of this artistic research into, let's say, the labs. And technically it also translated for one of our artists, Joel Kühnen, in the, basically, in the co-authoring of a scientific paper on the material research that he conducted in collaboration with the Crystal Growth Facility at EPFL. So basically the Crystal Growth Facility could explore a field that without the presence of Joel and this project wouldn't have been possible, basically. And so that's a bit the concept. Through, let's say, the unorthodox experiments that only thanks to, let's say, external figures or artistic research that go beyond, let's say, here we are, the protocols of scientific research, then actually this is a great opportunity also for scientists. So the program is built in order actually to keep also this dialogue between art and science really in broad and let's say beyond also any kind of specific categorization of the work of art science. And I think here we can actually link directly also to the work of Chloe that we can now see. And indeed, Chloe, you started saying that, let's say, your research is a broader research conceptually and philosophically connected to questions related to science and technology, but it's not the, let's say, literal necessarily. And perhaps you can tell us shortly also something about these images that we are finally seeing about your work and environment.
Oui, alors ça, par exemple, les dernières images, c'est la dernière exposition que j'ai faite ici à Paris, à la Galerie Franck-Elbaz, et qui regroupe un peu justement différentes typologies d'œuvres que j'ai pu faire ces dernières années. Qui du coup... Voilà, je ne sais pas comment je pourrais commencer. En fait, chaque façon de penser les œuvres, comme je disais tout à l'heure, sont très allégoriques et sont plutôt justement une sensation. Ça joue sur le faux semblant, sur justement ces questions de simulation. Quand on regarde les œuvres, on ne sait jamais trop si c'est vraiment une machine qui fonctionne ou si c'est juste un leurre. J'aime bien en fait utiliser aussi différents signes ou symboles très syncrétiques et aussi de se faire se rencontrer toutes ces choses-là dans une... Je pense qu'il y a aussi ce rapport à la façon dont justement l'époque numérique, technologique en fait crée aussi une espèce enfin, pour moi c'est comme si on est arrivé un peu à une espèce d'aboutissement du réel justement où on va vers tous ces univers simulés et en fait c'est comment j'essaye de capter comme je disais tout à l'heure un peu ces troubles ou ces altérations et qui en fait marque un peu aussi finalement l'époque qu'on occupe dans le présent. C'est-à-dire que je suis pas du tout dans des formes. Alors esthétiquement, on peut peut-être imaginer un peu des choses liées à la science-fiction, mais je parle pas du tout de science-fiction justement. Je pense que c'est très très ancré dans notre présent et c'est déjà un peu c'est un peu cette idée que c'est déjà un peu pas trop tard, mais c'est-à-dire que la façon aussi de produire des œuvres aujourd'hui au XXIe siècle avec justement l'impression 3D, la modélisation 3D, en fait il y a aussi toute cette question de production du tangible, du physique et c'est des choses, la question de la reproductibilité du calcul. Le latex par exemple, quand je viens emprunter telle ou telle forme, par exemple dans l'exposition vous voyez au sol il y avait une espèce de grande peau de latex où en fait je suis venue mouler un sol très basique à Genève, mais qui a vécu en fait, qui s'est fait altérer par le temps. Il y a des imprécisions, il y a de la mousse végétale qui est poussée, etc. Et en fait c'est un peu cette question de reproduire quelque chose d'irreproductible par la machine aussi ou par la computationnalité, des choses comme ça. Enfin voilà, c'est un peu tout ce questionnement. Et donc avant tout, c'est aussi d'avoir une expérience esthétique. Je pense que c'est très important pour moi. Quand on rentre dans les environnements que je produis, les expositions, c'est qu'il y a un peu... Il y a d'autant, on est attrapé par la lumière, donc notre regard est attrapé, on peut être ébloui. Il y a un peu toujours cette réflexion autour de la lumière aussi avec le néon ou les tubes fluorescents, un peu cette espèce de jour sans fin où il y a plus de cycle naturel qui existe. Peut-être en regard aussi de ces questions des univers simulés, on est toujours tout est possible, tout est infini, tout est sans contour, sans rien. Il y a le latex a une odeur aussi assez forte et qui fait que on est pris aussi par l'odeur, il y a toujours un petit bruit quand même de moteur, mais qui sont en fait juste des petits ventilateurs qui permettent. Enfin, bref, voilà, il y a différentes sensations en fait et qui nous affectent aussi en tant que spectateurs, mais sans être dans l'interaction parce que tout est quand même assez figé en fait. Et c'est en fait, et le corps humain, voilà, circule dans ces environnements.
Merci. My question is actually, I mean, the project also of the symmetry, and now that you're going to how basically these tropes of your work will be changed, let's say, after also this, say, at CERN, after this residency. But perhaps also there are also other questions from the audience.
Je confirme qu'il y a des micros qui peuvent tourner. Donc.
Yes, of course, we can also give you a microphone if you wish to take the floor, so please raise your hand. Yes, there is a question here.
Questions but I'm very curious about it. So, Chloe, you showed us so many pictures. I think that was extremely helpful to envision the context that you were working in at CERN. But I was wondering also, what were the areas where you weren't allowed to take pictures? Because I'm sure that there were some. And another question directed to you and to Monica. How is the collaboration and the exchange between the scientists and the artists enabled? So how do you make sure that you find a common language between physicists and non-physicists, and then a special group of non-physicist artists?
Donc par rapport, si j'ai bien compris, c'est par rapport aux photos que j'ai prises, que j'ai pas pu prendre. Mais en fait, ce qui est incroyable au CERN justement, c'est que tout est possible. On peut prendre vraiment en photo tout, à part, je crois, il y avait vraiment, je crois, un mini truc sur un peu une donnée, mais vraiment, sinon, en fait, c'est aussi le principe du CERN, c'est que c'est une espèce d'open source où, en fait, si vous vous connectez au site du CERN, vous pouvez avoir accès justement, bon, pas aux images que moi j'ai faites, mais aux toutes les images que le CERN aussi a faites pendant qu'on était à la résidence, et aussi pendant une expérience, il va y avoir des photos de communication. Enfin, en fait, tout est vraiment et on était assez étonnés d'ailleurs parce qu'à chaque fois on était là, mais est-ce qu'on peut prendre en photo, même à un moment donné quand on était dans le center control où il y a quand même je sais pas, il y a plein de données, moi je sais pas exactement ce que ça veut dire, mais on se dit ça peut être sensible mais en fait non, tout est assez possible. Donc j'ai beaucoup de matière maintenant.
Est-ce qu'il y a éventuellement une autre question? Nous avons un petit peu de temps. Ou sinon, peut-être que je peux vous laisser le mot de la fin. Un dernier mot.
Il y avait aussi en tout cas un point pour Monica, peut-être si tu peux. Sorry, if you can actually add.
Okay, just 1 minute answer. So let me do a bit of a provocation. Collaboration is something that we can achieve sometimes, but that's a big word. In a particle physics scenario, you are together, and this being together, you create culture and the effects. So cannot be measurable. So we cannot measure them. Maybe in 5 years we can see with some artists some results, outcomes, and the culture of the laboratory changes with the presence of the artist. But unlike other places, maybe nano arts, CERN is not a hands-on laboratory, so you cannot really. You can take many pictures and listening to people, spend time with scientists from different backgrounds and grasp what is going on. And then, as an artist, you do your job and you're thinking and something comes out of that. But I don't think, I rarely use the word collaboration. It's a dialogue. It's bringing people together in and enabling this dialogue in spaces with time, faces connect to each other is an empathic time. And usually I said the provocation for me is a very neoliberal way of thinking in art and science. So we need to create something out of this. Give me a collaboration. It's not really what this is about. And then there is another, there is a very important way to put the optics here. So the lens goes through the eyes, looking at each other's practice, but we dedicate our time to the artist. So there are other models that are bringing two worlds together, and there is some, common ground where they find, this happens, but my work is really supporting artists. We think hyper-scientific society, and there is some serendipity. This we believe in that. Sometimes doesn't happen, and we are happy with that as well. But I'm sure many people in the room have many things to say about the experience of art and science, and not everyone will agree with me, but this is how we do it.
Si je peux rajouter aussi, non, parce qu'il y avait quelque chose quand même qui était assez amusant ou étonnant, je sais pas. C'était que en fait avec Patricia, on était quand même très impressionnés par les scientifiques et les physiciens et les théoriciens, où il y avait toujours ce partage de savoir, et en fait on s'est rendu compte que eux aussi étaient entre guillemets un peu impressionnés, pas impressionnés, mais ils étaient aussi très admiratifs en fait des artistes, et que ce qu'on faisait nous en tant qu'artistes, pour eux c'était aussi important que eux leur recherche, alors que pour moi je pense qu'il y a quand même il y a des niveaux différents, mais et du coup en fait ça a créé vraiment des rencontres où, et ce qui est formidable aussi avec le CERN, c'est que c'est vraiment comme si c'est une espèce de petit village. C'est qu'on allait déjeuner à la cafétéria tous ensemble tous les midis, et on rencontrait plein d'autres gens, et c'était en fait ça devenait un peu ces moments très scientifiques. Tout le monde était mélangé, et alors c'est vrai qu'autour de nous ça parlait calcul, des trucs que je ne comprenais pas, et nous on a amené en fait on avait beaucoup de réflexions basées sur des trucs très concrets, qui amenaient vers des questions beaucoup plus philosophiques en fait, et ça a été vraiment un partage intellectuel très puissant, et ça pour moi ça a été vraiment le plus sympa.
Je peux vous laisser peut-être le tout dernier mot, le mot de conclusion.
Merci beaucoup. So thank you all for joining our discussion today. Thanks, of course, ICEA for hosting us. Thanks to Prohelvetia to initiate this roundtable, from the sector Innovation and Society, Leonie Thalmann, and also Ariane Riefstein for the great coordination. Thanks also to Caterina Brandl, Head of Visual Arts, for joining us for the discussion. And thanks, of course, Monica Bayo, Chloé Delarue, for really giving us precious insights on the work you have been done together, and of course also on the outstanding work of Arts at CERN in fostering these real, let's say, of art science alliances. Thank you all. Have a good continuation of your day.